All right, good morning, everybody. I will call this morning's meeting for the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, August 26th. Our first item is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Krabenhoff, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Citizens to be heard. We have no citizens in the audience to be heard. Do we have any online?
We do not, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. We will move on then to the approval of bills and vouchers.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills and vouchers.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Krabenhoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Approval of minutes from August 12th.
Mr. Chair, move for approval of the minutes from August 12th.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Our 8:35 item is request to fill an assistant county attorney position. Good morning, Mr. Milton.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Yeah, this is a outgoing position. It was a new employee. She was still actually within her 6-month time period, but is ultimately looking to do something different. She's moving out of state, and so we are looking to fill this. It is a budgeted position. So, and I am aware I did not put to. Now we have the new thing, and I forgot to do it of putting a piece in there, but it wouldn't. It is neutral. She's brand new, so this would be a new entry level expected person that would be applying to.
There wouldn't be much savings because
There'd be really any savings, right?
Any questions, Brian?
I'll make a motion to fill the assistant county attorney position.
I'll second
Second.
the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, Brian. Yep. All right, next we have a request approval to adopt artificial intelligence policy. Here's our artificial intelligence people. Mark and Rory.
Good morning.
Morning.
Actually, it's actual intelligence here. Nothing artificial.
We'll be the judge of that.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So the reason I'm talking to you today with Rory is one of my roles in my communications roles is I've been helping with policies and getting them organized and squared away and all that kind of stuff. And there was a desire and a need for an artificial intelligence policy. And so Rory did a whole bunch of research and got a bunch of sample policies and put together a whole page of things that we should include and sent that all to me and I packaged it up. But before I get to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is artificial intelligence and how it might be used here at the county. I asked ChatGPT that question, and it's on the screen. It says artificial intelligence is a technology that allows computers to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as recognizing patterns, analyzing data, generating text, and making predictions. We can use it for a lot of different things, summarizing stuff, drafting letters, case notes, all sorts of things. One of the things we were just talking about that we've seen it used for is making, basically transcribing meetings, that kind of stuff, or there's a huge array of different things. I asked it to write a GIS Day resolution because, GIS Day is a big day every year here. And in less than a few seconds, it came back with an actual resolution with all the whereases and all the stuff that we would need to bring that forward to you. So it helps speed up a lot of things that we want to do here. So it can be used for a lot of, I don't actually know what all it can be used for, but I know that there's a lot of things that we've had examples of here locally. As managers, we even had a class how to use it to help write our annual reviews. So to put the text together. to make that a little easier, Darren showed us all how that ChatGPT can help with that. I asked it to create a graph of the population of Clay County over the last 100 years. It took it 47 seconds. It produced this graph that you see on the screen right now. And then it gives you some choices like how do you want to download it, and all that kind of stuff. So I could do this myself, but this does it a lot faster and quicker. Now, the reason we're coming forward with a policy is one of the biggest issues, and in the policy, item A specifically says that when I use this to create something like this or anything, I'm responsible for making sure that the data you see is accurate. Because that's one thing about AI is we don't always know where it's getting its information. The other side of that coin is everything you put into it, it uses for everybody else, which is one of the reasons why our policy talks about not putting private or confidential or criminal justice data or all those things into it, because we don't want that spreading all over. So there's some parameters on how you use this stuff. But I think probably one of the biggest things for me as a user is to make sure that when I produce a product like this chart, I need to make sure I know that the data it used, which is accurate, which excitingly I noticed it used a spreadsheet off our very own website. So I'm going to go with it probably being good, but that's one of the things I'm responsible for. So what we're bringing forward then today is this policy, which is basically, we took the policy, as I mentioned earlier, from 3 different counties, along with a whole page of stuff that Rory had gathered, put it all together into something that we could make work. But as we developed it, we have to make sure that we develop a policy that's fluid enough that it will, or broad enough, however you want to phrase it, that it's going to be able to adapt over time, because we don't want to come back all the time and say, oh, we have to edit it because this technology is happening so quickly. So really in the policy, it's 3 pages long, but there's only really 3 bullets that are the policy part. The rest of it are guidelines and best practices and things like that to help our staff use this technology in a way that's in the best interests of all of us. With that, anything you want to add, Rory?
No, you did great. Yeah, thank you.
Questions? Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I do want to point out this was brought before PIC, and we forwarded it on to the council. This policy, I've had a chance to review it, and again, the policy, as accurately indicated here, is basically the third highlighted area down, which is fairly short and sweet, but the rest of it is safeguards, selection of AI, examples, best practices, things our employees are going to need to have in order to stay in compliance with the policy. So it's well written, and having said that, I like to put forward a motion that we approve this policy as presented.
I'll second it. I think it makes sense.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger, second by Commissioner Kravinoff, and as Commissioner Ebinger did state, this was brought before PIC, and we asked that Mark would provide us with a little bit of a description of what AI is, and your intelligence was high today.
Did you ask AI?
Oh, did we vote on that? No.
Did you ask AI? I said,
Yeah, we asked AI, I got it on here. Yeah, no, I obviously it's really big in the news now, and how that's expanding, and us having some sort. Can I just ask Chat GPT, what's the GPT? Or does anybody know?
Can't say I honestly know that.
Ask Siri.
I'm busy. Ask AI, I guess. Okay, all right. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, we have a policy that takes effect today. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
all right, thank you. Next, we have a request approval to purchase TCP scheduling software for the withdrawal management facility. Good morning, Troy. Kathy?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Yes, we today are requesting approval to purchase a software which would kind of modernize our scheduling process. Currently, we're doing everything by hand on calendars. Very time-consuming. The annual cost for up to 60 users is $2,311.20. They have a one-time fee where they will come in, set us all up, train us, go through everything, make sure we're ready to go, and that's $2,100. The length of the contract will be 60 months. Any additional user over 60, which right now I don't see us getting to, but each additional user would be $38 a month.
Yes, Commissioner Wojcik.
Thank you. Boy, this seems to make a lot of sense. Are there any savings realized because of the jail utilizing the same software?
There wasn't. He gave us the best price we could. I did push for that because we're using multiple, departments. He said if we expanded with more departments using it, then, that's a possibility.
Just as a follow-up, I think if you look at what our cost per wear, if you will, is monthly, what that investment is, it's really minimal when you talk about staff time and not needing to spend hours doing that. So it seems to really make a lot of sense. I'd make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebinger, and this was also brought before PIC, I believe, wasn't it? And then that we moved that forward for approval.
One question.
Yes.
How many users would be on there right now if you had it today?
I think I counted about 52 or so right now. 50?
Pretty much fully staffed over there?
No, we're short some RNs still. We're down one full-time tech that I'll have to get on board to request approval, so, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Ebinger?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Is 60 enough?
I think at this point it is.
And do you have the ability to expand if you need to?
We can always add users individually for that 30, I think it's like 3867, a person to add it, so add it somewhere.
That's good. And that would, as long as we can cover it, if you finally get to full staff, which I know is a difficult task to do, but
Yeah, it would be 3852 per user. Over 60.
thank you.
What is fully staffed over there? What is fully staffed over there?
Fully staffed would be, we would have 13 LPNs, 4 RNs, 2 lead RNs, an RN supervisor. We have 8 full-time technicians, 20 variable hour technicians. Ideally, it'd be nice to have, 5 variable hour nurses that'll work regular, but that's,
In addition to those 20?
yeah, the 20 are techs,
Oh, those are techs, okay.
yeah. It's
53, 54.
the very difficult part about variable hour is they're inconsistent and they're just not, I don't know, they're not willing to work as much because they have other jobs and it makes it hard.
That's why you need the software to make sure,
Yeah,
not switching them all around all.
yeah, and then all requests for changes in schedules, so we know who's on to make sure that we have nurses on. That has to go through the system to get approved. Overtime would have to be approved on the system. I'm told it'll track variable hours, so.
No further questions.
All right, anything else? Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. And by the way, I just did, from one of our good AI resources, I just learned that GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformers. So we have AI that works well right here in. All right, next we have our budget presentation. Quinn, you're gonna tackle this all alone? Usually we have a,
I'm going to tackle this all alone, although
All
I'm
right, well,
missing
good for
Rhonda
you.
right now. Would like to have Rhonda back right now. But.
You're doing great.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Kind of what I'll do to start out with, I looked at previous years and we did a kind of an overview of the prior years before jumping into the budget. So that's what I'm going to do for you today, just provide a quick overview of how we ended for 2024. Our total revenues were $28,642,093, and our expenditures were $28,737,623. So we ended 95,529 expenditures over revenues, missed by just a little bit. With a budget that size, felt like it was a pretty accurate budget for 2024. To kind of take you along as to how we ended there, we did see some savings in salaries, just about $100,000 there. Overall, came in pretty close to budget across all our program areas with a few variances. Underspending was largely driven by retirements, vacancies, staff transitions, as well as some targeted funding, like our MA unwinding dollars, which was $120,977 for 2024. That money helped offset salaries tied to our eligibility staffing needs. If you remember, during COVID, once MA eligibility was expanded, once the pandemic was ended, those waivers ended as well, and we were given a significant amount of funds from the state to help get the folks that were covered by MA off of MA. This board and Rhonda made the decision to bring on 4 eligibility staff back then, which was great because we were very much needed them due to the workload. This MA unwinding money pays for half of their salary, whereas the income maintenance random moments generates enough revenue to cover the other half of their salary. Our administrative expenses, we came in at 97.8% of the budgeted amount. This reflects total underspending of about $34,943. You can see the breakdown there on the right of where in each of our 3 large program areas that happened. Social services is the bulk of that. It's the biggest. Just on the radar for 2025, I took our temperature where we're at halfway through the year now. I am expecting this to be a little bit more on target for 2025 as we've just moved into the 4th floor wing and had some increased administrative costs for that. Our out-of-home placements, this will always be a talking point when it comes to social services budgets. Our out-of-home placement expenditures totaled just under $4 million in 2024. We were able to recover approximately $700,000 in placement revenue, primarily through Title IV-E reimbursements. As you can see from that green revenue line in recent years, really the loss of this 4E revenue has had a pretty significant impact on our local costs. The biggest driver of this loss is Families First Preservation Services Act. Essentially what that does is counties can only claim 50% federal reimbursement for placement costs at certain facilities if the facility is designated as a qualified residential treatment program. West Central, where the majority of our placements occur, is not QRTP certified, so
and we're working on that.
yes, that is correct. So we have to pay 100% of the costs at the juvenile center. So that's where we've seen our revenue for those placements decrease. Whoops.
Yes, just a quick question. Just, that one's so big, it's disturbing. Has something, you mentioned the one act, but are there other things associated with the program that have changed in the last session or two? Or, I mean, what I'm trying to get at, is there a way, maybe this further discussion, I guess, but ways we should be going back to the state?
Sure. In terms of the
And trying to coalesce with AMC and others in a way to say it's just too much.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Krabenhoff, I think your advocacy for the PRTF is exactly the right lane for that.
Okay.
This QRTP reimbursement is at the federal level Families First Preservation Act is federal 4E reimbursement that comes in, and it really has to do with the fact that West Central is not QRTP certified, and that's not for lack of trying. I know that when this first changed in 2021, James and Josh did everything they could to become QRTP certified. It had to do with the licensures that they hold with the Department of Corrections versus DHS. They
And that's one of the things that we've been talking about with advantages with the new non-secure facility. That would have 2 addresses, and we'd be able to incorporate, and it would then be qualified for that. And we could see then that federal money coming into the tune of what, close to maybe $500,000, could be $500,000.
Yep.
Okay, that connects.
Yes,
the dots.
absolutely.
But what I would say one of the biggest concerns is the red line.
Correct.
Just look at the red line. That's,
Yeah.
and the problem is, when we don't have any other places to put them, we're sending them places that are $1,800, $2,000 a day, to house these, kids. So that's where the issue is,
Correct.
I'll
I'll highlight it when I get to 2026 as well, but even though that red line goes up, the number of children in placement has actually decreased. So it's not more kiddos that are in foster care, it's the cost of the foster care and residential placements.
I think in many ways, if I might, Mr. Chair, not having 2014 and 15 on there, which were even higher than what we were seeing there, really is what spurred this board to have substantial discussion about transition housing, additional opportunities for our youth, because we were seeing a levy hit in such a way where we decided we needed to look critically on alternative components locally to have as options. Now, in regards to what DHS allows for reimbursable rates is ridiculous and is, as you can see, getting worse every year. And it just really speaks to that. How do we prove to them what the actual cost is? This isn't counties picking the most expensive option.
It's the only option.
Yeah, in many ways. Thank you.
So spending in our civil commitment related services, which is civil commitments, sex offender placements, regional treatment centers, you can see the four indigent lines there and the totals. We came in about $80,000 over budget in 2024. There's an ongoing challenge of predicting these costs really tied to court-ordered placements. These are statutorily mandated, high-cost services, often with long stays and expensive daily rates. Again, this is mainly for adults, and they definitely range in the $2,000 to $2,100 per day, especially at Anoka Regional Treatment Center.
I just want to point one other thing out, Quinn. So when we're talking about, having to send these kiddos out to other places because we don't have any place here for them, and I mentioned the number, $1,800 a day is probably on the low end now, based on, the way things are going. But just as an example, in our member counties who are part of our West Central Regional Juvenile Center, on the secure side, they're paying, I believe the cost is about $300 a day for doing it here versus, the cost of having to send it out when there's nothing available.
Correct.
So, that's a significant difference, but we don't have any more room.
So a new non-secure would be a wonderful facility to build here for us.
It's all part of that PRTF project.
With these 4 lines looking ahead, we do have the new state mandated 40% cost share for this line is the indigent sex offender line. You'll see me speak to that in our 2026 information. I just want to highlight advocacy through MAXA for a more balanced state-county funding approach to this specific program area continues to be a priority for us with MAXA. And just to hit a few other highlights for 2024, illustrating both increased revenue there in the green and areas of overspending in the red. We did have some program areas that experienced higher than expected costs. We also saw strong performance in several revenue streams that helped offset those pressures. Particularly increased billing tied to our higher caseloads in CADI waiver, DD waiver, and our SNBC programs. brought in some pretty significant revenue for us that we weren't expecting. At the same time, we did experience overspending in areas that are either unpredictable or mandated, such as nursing home costs for individuals under 65, some of our interpreter expenses, county-funded burials, and detox. Many of these lines are driven by factors outside of our control, like court orders, client needs, or service access. I just want to highlight a few of these for you. Our interpreter costs are really, this line, although it's typically $1,000, we had expenditures of $18,728 for interpreters. I wanted to highlight the difficulty in predicting some of these lines, as that cost represents serving one family, given a very unique set of circumstances. Did not budget differently for that $1,000 into 2026 because I just don't think we're going to see a family with that specific needs needing that interpreters into 2026, but it highlights how much it can fluctuate from year to year. Detox was a large driver of our increases. They exceeded the $1.15 million by $153,043. Our nursing home costs, so social services is responsible to have a share of nursing home costs for citizens that are on MA, that are under age 65, who remain in nursing homes past 90 days. This line is also difficult to predict because we just don't know how many people are going to need this. In 2024, we saw overspending of $52,462.
When on that detox piece, is there any of that that's ever reimbursable?
Yes. If you would be patient with me, I would kind of speak to that in 2026's. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Social Services also has a statutory mandate to provide county burials and cremations for folks without sufficient means or responsible relatives to pay for their care. We also don't know exactly what that'll look like from year to year, so we did see an overspending of about $21,000 in 2024. I did account for that in 2026's budget for the increase. Before I move on to 2026, any questions with how we ended on 2024?
Questions? Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. You didn't specifically identify it here, but I was at Lakeland Mental Health Center yesterday, and it sounds like there was an issue in regards to reimbursable allowable rates from the state in terms of in face-to-face therapies versus in-person therapies. So it sounds like Donna will be working with you on that. It mainly was the fact that all of a sudden we were working together with Lakeland, the service was being provided, it would be getting sent to the state, and the state said, no, we're not going to allow any virtual reimbursements. So it sounds like they want to work with you on it. It sounded like a big enough issue for their budget that it was something that affected ours as well. So just know that she'll be following up.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there's some acronyms that.
The only thing that's on my radar is our TCM rates with Lakeland, which I'm working with their CFO on.
That might be it.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I'm aware and we're working.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving into 2026. The levy request for 25 was $14,982,224. The levy request for 2026 is $15,733,925, a year-over-year increase of $751,701. The decision was made in 2025 to use $350,000 of fund balance. So year over year less that fund balance is $401,701, or a 2.55% increase from 2025. The increase.
So but when in 2024, your fund balance did not grow according to what you've said.
That's correct. Yeah. The increase is really primarily due to mandated costs increasing, revenue shifts, and program demands that I'll discuss throughout the presentation. I do have one new request. We did try to keep all of our requests to a minimal. However, this is one program area that we felt we needed and that we could justify. So requesting one full-time disability case manager in our home and community-based services division. This unit provides case management to individuals with disabilities, helping them live safely in the community and avoiding more costly institutional care. As you saw in the revenue in 2024, the caseloads have increased, which has allowed for increased billing, but also higher caseloads. It's important that we have kind of manageable caseloads in this area, as overextended workers cannot sustain the level of diligence that's required when they're stretched out too thin, making it hard to provide consistent oversight in the documentation required to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse in the publicly MA-funded program. By adding this new staff, it would strengthen our ability to provide those checks and balances while addressing our growing service demands and caseloads, and it maintains our commitment to high-quality, person-centered care. Once fully trained, I do actually anticipate that this position would generate a little bit more than the $95,000 we're projecting in 2026. I didn't do a full projection of revenue just with the onboarding and training. They wouldn't be billing day one of their employment if it's approved. I did include a wage calculator in your packet for review for this position, but it is expected to be with salaries and benefits $90,657. So it should have a positive net impact on the budget for 2026. Any questions around the new case manager request?
Questions?
Moving on, in your packets, you should have a kind of an overview sheet. This is what I'll be referencing as I go through the slides. Just have some visual aids to accompany. Should look like this. So starting with salaries, this graph represents salaries and then the increase that happened from year over year on the previous year. So you can see from 2025 to 2026, the salary and benefit budget increased by 1.3%. I do need to note that this does not reflect COLAs or any changes to health insurance premiums. This is just the salaries and steps that were calculated. We did budget $162,000 of the healthcare unwinding money that we still have available to help offset those 4 eligibility staff that I talked about in 2024's overview. Again, half of their salary is paid with this unwinding money, and the other half is generated by income maintenance random moments, the time study for income maintenance. The unwinding funds are expected to be used fully partway into 2027. So we are going to run out of those funds. However, the need for those staff has always been present since the COVID restrictions ended. But it's just been nice that we've had the MA unwinding money to not have to ask for levy funds for those staff to deal with the caseloads. Moving on to administrative expenditures, the expenses across all divisions are projected to increase by just over $41,000 for 2026. Most of the increase is tied to fixed operational costs and other obligations, not necessarily discretionary spending. Financial services saw a small increase, largely due to our casework software contracts, building insurance, and translation services tied to federal SNAP compliance. We were told that we needed to improve our phone system and allow for a translation service to be an option once you dial. So if you dial the 5200 number now, you'll be prompted to see if a translator is needed. This was to become SNAP compliant, and there was a small increase to our telephone costs as a result of that. Child support, fraud, and collections, we worked as hard as we could and reduced about $1,900 through small adjustments, a few $100s here and there. So we decreased by about $1,900 in our child support, fraud, and collections area, primarily through a drop in our federal offset fees. So counties are charged a fee for every successful interception of a federal tax refund when we're pursuing past due child support obligations. We just are not seeing as many tax refunds being intercepted, so the fee along with that has decreased. And social services, which is our largest program area, continues to carry the biggest burden and increased by about $30,000, mostly due to the full year rent for our new 4th floor space, which is about $21,000 added. So it's $41,000 total for that wing. And our casework software contracts. We have several editions of caseworks, and each of them saw COLA increases in our contract for that electronic filing system software. Detox. So, Mr. Chair, this is where I said I would follow up on your question from earlier. Detox is a pretty significant and growing cost within social services budget, really attributing to our new withdrawal management facility and the increased capacity and need for their staffing. So kind of how this works is public health will provide social services with their projected costs for detox each year, and we plug those projections into our budget. In 2025, we budgeted $1.5 million based on their forecast, and for 2026, it's $1,990,000, 32.7% increase. The challenge is that this utilization and reimbursements are unpredictable, so it is hard to know exactly what we'll end up spending. So to speak to your question, when revenue has come in higher than expected, it has historically helped offset other costs as that goes into social services budget as well, but the opposite is also true. So if expenses go over revenue, social services budget covers the difference there as well. So again, in 2024, Detox had an additional $153,000 of expenditures on top of what was budgeted.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
could, Commissioners, I had that conversation with Mr. Amundson in regards to his future needs. And one of the things that we've asked if he's taken into consideration the additional revenues that he will now be bringing in based on the ability to have that withdrawal management license. And Mr. Amundson indicated to me that at this point, they only have a few months into Detox as far as reimbursement, and that prior to finalizing the budget, we're going to take another look at that to see if we can offset some of the additional costs that would be passed on. So.
Yeah, because I thought that when we moved into that facility, we were going to be able to gain revenues that we could not obtain in the old facility.
Yep, that's correct. And at this point, Mr. Amundson indicated that he felt he didn't feel comfortable with as few numbers as we had to have a more aggressive number, but hoping to by this fall.
All right, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Cobb.
So just, can you mention just those sources of potential?
Is your mic on?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you just mention those sources of revenue, the way they would come?
For
The types,
for
yeah.
Detox?
Yeah.
I have to apologize,
Oh,
Commissioner
okay.
Kravinoff, I'm not familiar with the operations of Detox.
Okay.
My understanding that Detox budget is just within social services budget. That's where we've chosen to have it be. When it comes to the actual operations and day-to-day, I'd have to refer to Mr. Amundson and Kathy.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll have more discussions on that part within your budget later, so.
Again, speaking to out-of-home placement trends, in 2026, we're projecting to spend about $3.67 million in out-of-home placement costs. I guess the good news there is that's slightly below the almost $4 million that we spent in 2024. Hopefully, we will see that decrease. We're projecting to recover about $835,000, leaving us with about $2.83 million that hits the levy. Even though, again, like I said, the number of kids in placement isn't going up, it's in fact decreasing. Just like in previous years, the Families First Preservation Services Act is really hitting the revenue that comes in with that. So that's really where we're seeing the biggest hit, is because the revenue is just so low.
You had mentioned earlier, Quinn, about the number of kids involved with this. Can you provide us with kind of how those numbers have looked comparatively over year to year?
Yep, absolutely. And
I think you mentioned, and maybe you have it in your report coming up, but.
I don't, but historically, we do have a graph that usually accompanies this. When we were at our highest, it was about we've had well over 200 children in placement at any one given time. For these numbers, based on these projections, it was about 150. So we've seen it drop about 50 kiddos.
So something is working in terms of
Correct.
Reduced numbers. Something is not working in terms of expenditures.
That's correct, yeah. I would attribute the decrease in the number of children in placement directly to the staff that are doing the work. We've had some consistency
Right.
in our child protection, and with that comes better skills, better abilities, better engagement with families, and as a result, less children that have to be removed from their homes.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Mojo.
I might also just speak, though, to the cost of what that care is, and so we've seen a drop of 50 children, and really, I don't think that top line has changed a whole lot, which is a cautionary, warning to us, really, at what the actual cost of that care is. It's substantial.
We did increase kind of the net impact on the levy. This chart represents well over 100 lines in our budget. So rather than go through line by line and explain the different types of placements and do the needing to code it different ways for the different funding streams, we kind of summarize all of those lines with this out-of-home placement trends graph. With that, we kind of show what that net impact on the levy is with the blue there. We did increase kind of what that will look like for 2026 by $80,000. Talking with Susan Roll and then Rhonda while she was still here to massively adjust this net impact on the levy from year to year based on the out-of-home placement trends is just a really significant shock based on how big these numbers are. So to kind of make small incremental changes based on what we're seeing is the path that we've kind of chosen to do with this out-of-home placement budget.
So that red line number, you're saying that you're anticipating that to be about 3.7 million?
3.67 million, yes.
So when you do the simple math on that, at 150 kids, you're over $2,000 a month.
Correct, yeah. So, some of those children are in high cost placements and some are, I'm saying, like family
Right.
foster homes. So I mean, we're gonna
Right.
see a huge disparity between, it's not 2,000 across the board.
Right.
Some children are much more expensive in terms of their cost of care than others.
Thank you, Quinn.
County burials, they remain a mandated service for individuals who pass away without resources or family to cover those burial costs. Again, there's an unpredictable nature of this expense. For 2026, we're proposing $200,000 budget, which is an increase of $20,000 from 2025, based on rising funeral home and cremation costs and the need to stay responsive to this demand. You can see kind of our projections in 2025 are a little bit above average, which kind of necessitates the increased budget there. County burials reflect both a legal obligation and our public responsibility, which has to be budgeted for year to year, even though we can't precisely predict exactly how many we're gonna need.
I think, you know, that one, just the simple fact that, you know, when you see Clay County growing in population that we do on an annual basis, and obviously along with that growth, there's some deaths that occur, and not all of those families have the ability to afford. And so, I mean, that's something that I think that's part of growing.
One question on that. How does that work? Say I pass away and my family can afford it, but they come to you to have it pay for it. Is there a background check to see this family can actually afford it?
Yes, we do income verification. Yep, there's an application that needs to be submitted, and then our financial unit will actually go through and look at income.
Okay.
To specifically answer your question, it's people that are legally obligated to pay for. So if, I don't want to be too morbid, but if your parents were to pass away, you are not legally obligated to pay for their funeral. It would just be like the spouse or anyone that has legal guardianship over that person.
Or their estate.
Or the estate, yes. The other part of this that I'd like to speak to is really the estate recapture portion of this. That's the other difficult to predict variable. If a person who receives a county-funded burial is later found to have an estate, you know, bank accounts, real estate, life insurance, things like that, we pursue estate recapture to cover some or all of the burial costs with that. It doesn't happen often because most individuals that qualify for county burials don't have estates that can be recaptured. It is an important component of this because it does happen, and we're able to help offset some of the costs that go with paying for the burials or cremation.
And then do we pay for the cheapest way to bury somebody?
There are some legal obligations, whether it's cremation or burial. I recently met with our funeral home directors, Korsmo and Wright, to kind of go over exactly what does that look like, and it is, I'm going to say, the bare minimum. I mean, dignity is a huge important piece of this, but yes, there are not, I'm going to say, additional things. Part of our county burial policy is that if funds are available to pay for additional things, then you probably don't qualify for the county burial itself.
Okay.
Moving on to another area that has a big impact to the overall increase from year to year is the Minnesota Sex Offender Program. This program provides long-term court-ordered treatment for individuals who have completed prison sentences but are civilly committed as being too dangerous to be released back into the community due to an ongoing risk of sexual violence. Counties are financially responsible for a portion of the cost when someone is civilly committed to this program, and largely outside of our control. This expense makes up just one of those 4 indigent lines that I spoke to in 2024, and I'm increasing the budget by $145,000, which incorporates this new 40% county cost shift that was passed in the state legislature this year. Previously, counties were charged either 10 or 25% of these costs of care based on when the person went into the program, pre-2011 or post-2011. However, moving forward, all of these costs will now be 40%. And then
Hang on, Commissioner
Just
Kravinoff.
curious, the new rule, is that based on population? I mean,
I do not know, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Krabenhoff, that was what the legislature discussed as of some of the county cost shifts that we saw. This was one that stayed in. As to where or how that number came from, I'm not sure.
well, we'll have to ask.
Speaking to a lot of other key budget drivers, our contracted providers, you'll see in the overview form, altogether, there were some modest increases. However, we did see a reduction of about $27,800 for our contracted providers. Again, this is a mix of a few small increases, primarily to help some of our smaller providers cover increased staffing and operational costs. However, we do have a larger decrease in our village contract to help offset those costs. I've spoken with the village about kind of strategically doing this without harming our service delivery. Really, we're going to see about a $30,000 decrease, really because of the underutilization in that. And we're going to change how services are being accessed and how the contract is being utilized to not see a service reduction overall for the folks that need that. We did see a few revenue decreases as well as about $96,000 in reduced revenues across several different funding streams, including our community living infrastructure grant, which is dropping about $21,000. Our child welfare opioid funds, which is dropping about $22,000. Vulnerable children and adult grant, which is dropping about $21,000 again. And our Department of Revenue ICWA reimbursement, which is dropping about $6,000. Our revenue decreases do also account for $25,000 lost in the Behavioral Health Fund administrative allowance that was completely taken out of the 2026 state legislature. Some of our program expenditure adjustments. These lines show a total decrease of about $22,500, but have some adjustments within them. Specifically, our Adult Rule 79 case management. Mr. Chair and Commissioner Mojo, this might be some of what you were talking about with Lakeland with the Adult Rule 79. DHS increased the rate for our TCM subcontracted providers. Lakeland is one of them. Our county share is 50% of the monthly billed amount for folks that are on MA and 100% of the monthly billed amount if it's non-MA folks. Our substance use disorder county share, our behavioral health fund costs, that's being reduced based on kind of our historical and recent trends, but it remains at a level that accounts for possible cost shifts into 2027. This was an area, the behavioral health fund county share, this was an area that was on the table if DHS is not able to realize the $117 million in savings that they need to. This would be an area that we'd see increased costs into 2027. So it was decreased slightly, however, not so much that we wouldn't be able to account for an increase if that was to occur in 2027. Our day training and rehabilitation line, that provides support for adults with disabilities to help them build individual skills. We've seen lower utilization in recent years as fewer clients are attending center-based programs and instead are moving towards individualized services and employment-based options. So we've decreased that a little bit based on utilization. Same goes for our sheltered employment lines as well. This is a structured work environment where individuals with disabilities perform tasks in a supervised setting, typically separated from their counterparts that do not have disabilities. Again, more folks are pursuing community-based competitive employment as an alternative. Really, this decrease is a response to the state's employment first model. So we've decreased it by about $15,000. Our volunteer driver costs, we continue to lean pretty heavily on our internal case aides to handle a lot of visits and transports. And as a result, our volunteer driver expenses have decreased. That being said, we love to have a very robust volunteer driver program. So for any of the community that's out there listening, if you want to become involved in helping out families that are in the child protection system with getting parents to visits or getting parents to appointments that can attend with their children, that's often an area where our social workers can't be in two places at once. So to have a really robust volunteer driver program is phenomenal. So I'd put the call out. Anybody that's interested can contact our office. We'd love to tell them more about our volunteer driver program. We've also seen some revenue increases. We're projecting about $660,000 more in 2026 for revenue, primarily in our MA admin and recoveries lines, our adult and CADI waiver lines, DD waiver. Our adult protection grant increased pretty significantly. That total grant is $122,302. And our child protection grant increased pretty significantly as well. We'll be being allocated $364,240. This does include the $115,000 in additional revenue for our new internal Rule 79 case manager position that I brought to you all a few weeks ago. We've seen strong performance in several areas, especially primarily in waiver program revenue, which has really helped offset our other rising costs like Detox, the sex offender program, and our auto home placements. These are not optional services. This budget is built around what we know has to be mandatorily provided and statutorily delivered. That being said, social services does face considerable uncertainty, kind of the end of 2026 when some of the federal changes kick in and looking into 2027. From the big beautiful bill impacts to MAFTA implementation and the min choices flat rate reimbursement, as well as paid family medical leave. Also, we do know that big changes are coming, but right now I didn't have enough specific information to build in specific requests for all of those changes. Essentially, I didn't want to come to you all with a number and be wrong when we just don't know the implementation details of that yet. So this 2026 budget reflects social services' continued effort to responsibly balance our financial responsibilities and the opportunities we do have to capture new revenue where available while still providing the best quality service that we can. And with that, I would yield for any questions.
Questions? Go ahead, Commissioner.
What is your total increase that you're asking for?
Okay, so total increase again, with the fund balance is $751,701, and without it's that $401,700.
That is what you're asking this year for?
Yes.
And what is your current fund balance?
It is, oh, sorry, I have that on a different slide. $11,772,123 as of 12/31/24.
11, where are you seeing, is that on there?
I just have it in my note. $11,772,123.
And that's at the end of 2024?
End of 2024. I do believe that would account for the 95,000 expenditures over revenues as well.
Okay, yeah, that would be it, yeah. And do you know what you're trending for 2025? Are you?
I just checked, from the timing standpoint of it's pretty difficult to see, but we appear to be pretty much on target.
So Quinn, I'm just, and we got to wrap up pretty quick here, but I'm looking at pages 16 and 17, the first two pages on this packet that you have here. And so just to follow along, so the Detox, we're looking at an increase of 490,000, right?
That's correct.
And for out-of-home placement, the net is another 80,000.
Yes.
And county burials is 20, and then the MSOP, or however you say that, it's 145.
Yep.
And so those are total around 735,000. And then you actually, on the contract providers, you're down, or you're down, you're actually revenue, you're coming ahead by 27,000.
Yes.
So I rounded that to roughly 700,000 that were expenditures over. And then when I look at the revenue, we have a revenue decrease in, revenue decreases of 96,000. And then we have the proposal in terms of expenditures in those other areas of adult 79, and those things you're that's a decrease of 22,500.
Correct.
And then revenue increases, so that 669 is a positive number, right?
Yep.
So when I take those numbers, basically 670, so it's 690, so it's about 600,000 on the plus side in that area. So I'm not coming up with 751,000.
I didn't speak to every single line in the
Okay,
budget.
okay.
I highlighted there's several, I'm gonna say $500 changes, $1,000 changes here and there.
Okay, so this doesn't represent everything, all the.
This is not every
These are
single
just the
line of the
highlighted
budget.
ones that you wanted to share with, okay,
Yes,
all right.
yes. I did include the full budget in your.
Yeah, I guess I can, yeah. Because really, the numbers that you have here, that there's only like $100,000 difference between gains and losses.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if
Yes.
I could, I just wanted to point out that Quinn's done, realistically, this is his first budget. He was challenged with several different potential legislative changes that were going to take place and honestly still may. But I think what he has done is one of the probably most intricate, if not the most intricate budget, has done a great job in going line by line. Even as he mentioned earlier, he went into different areas and addressed in potential response to legislative areas and still made adjustments, and those adjustments stayed there even though the legislative changes didn't place. And as you mentioned, maybe he didn't go to the bare bones piece to that, so there is some if adjustments need to take place next year, it won't be as hard, but he did an extremely good job even prior to the May start of this budget process, so I just want to point that out.
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quinn, this is really helpful. Thanks so much for the presentation, and then obviously the packet that we can wade through. I want to maybe piggyback off of what Steve had mentioned in regards to how you've crafted a budget with really a moving target that would change by the hour, it seemed like. I don't need to remind all of us from where we thought we were going to be in February and March and where we're ending up. Again, things can change drastically, but I think what you've helped to do is educate us and also the public on why so much of this budget is really responsive to legislative action and reimbursement rates, and it's not perfect, and there's significant challenges to that, changes that we can advocate for, but you've really done a great job in your first year of, without the training wheels, if you will, helping with that. I get the most calls about social services countywide, and I think it's warranted because it is such a large levy piece, but once folks really understand what is being, what is mandated, what is shifted, how many of the positions that you have are really revenue generating, that kind of cover themselves. And really, this is an opportunity to care for a lot of vulnerable people in our community. Once people understand that we're talking about 200 children in Clay County, I think people are more apt to understand where we're coming from. It is tricky, and we need to continue to wade through this to figure out what makes the most sense, but you've done a really great job with that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, Quinn, thank you for your presentation this morning.
So much.
We'll be having some follow-up discussions with you prior to the preliminary levy. Yeah.
That last slide you did not have in the packet. Did I get an email with that?
The last
Last one you just had on there.
sorry, can you clarify for me, Commissioner?
One, the 350,000 increase. That slide there.
This one. Yep.
It's right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Yep. I will get it to you.
All right, thank you, Quinn.
Thank you so much.
All right, next we have our budget presentation for solid waste. Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I want to go on record as saying I don't want to follow Quinn next year.
Well, you know what, your numbers look a lot smaller, so maybe it's not such a bad idea.
I would like to start out, we are passing around a summary of all the changes due to the Moorhead potentially leaving. I'll go over that at the end. I just wanted to have something on paper that you guys could all look at after we went through the budget, so. Obviously, this has been a very challenging year to do the solid waste budget with the unknowns of whether we're gonna have a contract or not. A lot of the departments, nothing really changed, so they'll go rather quickly. But when we get to the existing landfill and the resource recovery center, we'll have several items to discuss, so. If we could just start on the budget, page 81, the very top. The first change that you'll see there is a 20% reduction in the special assessment. That is a result of us moving some stuff from capital budget into the operating budget. It would take your per parcel fee on a single resident home from $50 down to $40. So there would be a decrease there as far on the tax statement. The other item on page 81 I'd like to point out is the internal service fee under the existing landfill. There's an increase there of $100,000. That would be an annual expense for the purchase of the new equipment at the transfer station. The bids for the new equipment, if we were to buy brand new, is coming in somewhere between $850,000 and $900,000 with service plans. So obviously not a cheap process to go through. The next item I'd like to highlight is down on page 83. The budget decrease, or the salary decreases of 100% and the benefit decrease of 100%, those items were moved into the transfer station budget, so they're still in the budget, but they have moved to the RRC portion and out of the operating budget for solid waste management. Moving on to recycling. Not a lot of change in the recycling budget. The only major change there is that we went from an employee that had been here for about 15 years to a brand new employee, so we have a major reduction in the salaries, which does help us out and gives us a 6.39% decrease in that budget. So, again, the public education budget is not changing. We felt very confident in those numbers, and with Mara, the new recycling coordinator and education coordinator, she will be working within that budget.
Corey, can I just ask you on the recycling? Obviously, if we look on the top for the board's information, we receive a total of $225,000 in SCORE funding that comes from the state of Minnesota based on the solid waste tax.
Correct.
They collect over $100 million and counties get about 30 million.
Yep.
And it's supposed to be for solid waste.
Correct.
A lot of it goes to the general fund.
Yeah.
That's my little spiel on that. But anyway, the composting recycling program implementation, we have a $600,000 expenditure. Where does that $600,000 go?
We put that away for future costs and that kind of thing. It's a $600,000 that is for implementation and that kind of thing.
Isn't that what we pay to our cities?
Some of it, yes. But it's money that we're using for the composting and that kind of thing. It also goes into the recycling budget as well, correct.
What portion of that 600,000 goes to our cities, Moorhead, small cities?
Moorhead gets approximately $225,000, and then all the small cities and townships also get their portion, depending on what.
So we have an established formula that we.
Correct.
So a significant portion of that $600,000 is reimbursing
Yes.
our local community.
Correct. It's money we put away for implementing programs. For example, if a small city wanted to redo their recycling building or something like that, we would pay a portion of the recycling facility for them. And it's based on a formula that they send in for reimbursement quarterly, or however they would choose to, but they give an annual cap that they can get from us.
But I would venture that majority of that $600,000 is an annual payment
Correct.
to our communities.
Yep, yeah, they're gonna request their cap.
Right.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
Is that $600,000 levy dollars?
It comes out of our per parcel fee and our operating budget both.
So, Commissioner Barrett, to answer your question, really nothing in solid waste is levy dollars. That is an independent fund. That is, its revenues are determined through tipping fees. Tipping fees and other fees that we've established for revenues that come into our facility. So what Corey is presenting here to us in terms of a budget, it's an enterprise fund that is self-funded and not part of the levy.
Residents still pay that bill, though.
So what happens is we, we obviously, we have to determine what for example, what our total tons collected would be, that determine, and we know what our operational expenses are. That creates the tipping fee. The tipping fee then goes to all of the haulers and independent, or the cities who and that's what we charge them. And so in the case of me being a resident of Moorhead, what goes on my monthly bill is a collection that includes that tipping fee.
Yes.
So yes, the residents do pay it, but it's independent of what they get on the property tax statement from a levy.
The only thing that would go on the property tax statement is that per parcel fee.
Yeah.
And that pays for like our landfill cell and all that. So everybody pays for that equally.
What you said is about 55, and you're looking at
It's $50 right now. We're looking at reducing it to 40.
40.
Correct. And I will bring that to you at a later date once this is all finalized.
Right.
Moving on to page 87, the household hazardous waste budget. There's not a lot of changes there. There's a 0.14% increase, and a lot of that is based just on costs of getting the material shipped out. We try to do two truckloads a year. It works out to be about 5 every 2 years, a little more. So we build that into the budget, and those costs have gone up, and I believe they'll continue to go up, but we felt comfortable with just a slight increase there. Moving on to the existing landfill?
And that's all collected at the resource recovery facility, right?
Correct.
All
All household hazardous
for
waste.
the entire county comes there.
Yep, they have to bring it there.
Right.
On to the existing landfill. The very first line, you'll see the landfill fees. There's a decrease there of 48.72%. It's not an actual decrease, it's just a movement once again. In the past, all tipping fees have gone under the landfill. With the contract not being signed with the city, we're going to move all of the city of Moorhead's contract or their tipping fees into that budget, into the resource recovery budget. So that's approximately $1.3 million reduction there. It's still included in the budget. It'll just move down to the transfer station side, and you'll see that coming up. Moving down, there's a 250% increase, which seems like a lot, but it's only $5,000. It's a large increase because due to the new staff we have at the facility, all those have to get their landfill operator training and such. So we'll be sending a lot of people there. CDL training and all that is included. So although it's 250%, it's a minor amount of money in the grand scheme of things. Also, 100% increase in the cost of equipment repair and maintenance. Costs are going up. Seems like everything we break nowadays costs $10,000. So I did increase that a little bit just to cover in case if we do have some repairs on all of our equipment. Moving on to page 89, the very top line, 6820, we moved that into the Resource Recovery Center as well. That $358,440. That did increase that in the budget this year to $375,000. It's come to my attention that number may be a little high at this point, so I can adjust that down going forward. But we didn't have the number when the budget was originally put together, and that's still a work in progress. So, but again, that's included in the budget. It just moves into the resource recovery portion. So if you see a 9.53% reduction in the existing landfill budget as a result of moving those things out. Moving on to the resource recovery budget, the landfill fees, here's where you see that $1.3 million increase. or movement from the existing landfill into the transfer station. That's based on the 24,000 tons that Moorhead delivers. We put all that into the transfer station budget, as well as $100,000 or $120,000 from the tipping floor, or the public drop-off, excuse me. We included all that in the resource recovery budget. There's also an addition of $600,000 in tipping fees, just to pay for the expenses. And that is an increase to the transfer station tipping fees of $25 per ton. So going forward, we would be looking at a $56 per ton tipping fee at the landfill if it was delivered directly there. If it's delivered to the transfer station, it will be approximately 81. And I would bring that to the board at a future time for approval as well. Moving down, salaries regular increase. That is due to the movement from the solid waste management fund, as well as hiring an operator. So the increase of $62,684 is a new hire, as well as the benefits below of $12,383, $4,702, $3,886, and $909. That would be to hire a new operator to run the equipment in the transfer station, which the city of Moorhead is currently doing. I did that based on hiring a new truck driver. I do believe that one of our truck drivers will take that operator position, so we have somebody who knows how the system works and is familiar. I basically split the difference between a new truck driver and what an operator would cost to try and balance that out. Moving down to line 6252, gas. There's a $35,000 increase. That's the portion the city of Moorhead was paying the last few years, so that increased their budget. Down a little further, equipment repair and maintenance, I increased it by $20,000 just based on the fact that we'll have two very large pieces of equipment that we may have to be taking care of and maintaining. Snow removal, the city of Moorhead was doing that in the past. That also includes lawn care. I've spoke with Joe as far as both of them. The transfer station staff would do the snow removal with the equipment we have on site. We would purchase a new lawnmower, and Joe's staff would do the actual mowing. The solid waste department would buy the lawnmower though, so that is included in a later line item, or included in that $100,000 annual internal service fund. But we think we can do that for $15,000. Moving on to the fuel and lubrication of vehicles. We're estimating it's going to cost roughly $47,000 to run the equipment in there. With snow removal and all that added in, it'll be a little higher than what Moorhead's number was, but that's our best guess at this point, is what it's going to cost us to have that equipment running all the time. If you move down to, there's a $30,000 increase. That would be a request that we have going forward for insulating our garage in the back, and for a concrete dolly pad for our semi parking area, our trailer parking area. We remove Freon in that back garage, and it's going to cost roughly $20,000. We did apply for a grant. We have not heard word on that yet, to insulate that so that we can remove Freon all year. I know I brought that to the board in the past, but the issue we have is that Freon can't be removed when it's below 40 degrees, so we have to keep the building at 50 just to remove the Freon. If we don't, we end up with 300-400 Freon units to start removing in the spring. So, and the dolly pad is roughly $17,000 to put in a 7-foot by 80-foot dolly pad where we can dolly trailers down on. This year, with the wet summer we've had, we've lost 3 trailers. They dolly down, drive away, and they sink off site. We've been able to get them all rehooked with the use of the payloader at the transfer station, but to save that cost in the future, we would like to put that in. So that would be the only request I have for that. And then the internal service fee of the $100,000 would be for the new equipment there. And then on the final page 90, the $375,000 is also moved down from the capital budget into the operating costs. So with all that said and done, it comes to a $25 increase at the transfer station. And if you look at the sheet I handed out, it breaks out all the added expenses that I added in there. Obviously, this is kind of a crapshoot for us because we don't know all the minor expenses the city of Moorhead had, but we have a pretty good idea. So if you start at the top, the additional internal service to cover new equipment is $100,000 annually. Salary and benefit increase to the RRC budget is $84,564. The Prairie Lakes fee of $375,000, electrical increase of $35,000, equipment repair and maintenance of $20,000, snow and grass of $15,000, fuel and lubrication for new equipment $47,000, the updates to the RSC, which we talked about, for $30,000, and then including the drop-off fees of $120,000, which previously has gone into the landfill tipping fees. Total changes is $586,564. And I would like to point out that the new equipment is not included in this budget. I just received the bids, and they're approximately $850,000. That would come out of our internal service fee, and we would have to come up with a way of trying to pay that back.
What would be the new equipment?
The waste handler, a brand-new waste handler and a payloader. Yeah, and they're built to the same specs. The waste handler, we can really only get from one company, Butler. And it's built to the same specs as the machine that's there now. The payloader has a little different options. We've got a grapple on it rather than a tip bucket. Speaking with our operators, they felt that a grapple would be a little bit more efficient for them. The other thing I may add into that would be a snow push blade for the payloader that we could just clip on, push the snow. And then we already have the skid steer and the snow blower for that, so we would take care of the rest ourselves. And with that, I will yield for any questions.
Commissioner Krebs?
Yeah, just clarification then, on that new equipment, that's all equipment now that Moorhead may have of that type?
It's
in
the
your
exact
list
equipment
now?
that Moorhead has, yes.
And nothing else?
No.
Just a pure replacement?
Yep.
Okay.
The wait time on that, just to clarify, is anywhere from 8 to 15 months, depending on the piece and the availability.
And just to point out on the sheet that Corey has put out here, where it shows the increase is due to Moorhead leaving the contract, the Prairie Lake Solid Waste Management moved to the transfer station budget. That's $375,000, but that's also part of the reason why we've reduced the capital, which was on the property tax statement.
Correct.
From 40, what is it?
$50 to $40 per parcel.
$50 to $40 per parcel. And part of that is, you know, we always looked at that as more of a capital expenditure, but the fact of the matter is it's gonna be ongoing as long as we're partners there. Unlike some of our other capital expenditures, you invest in capital and at some point in time you pay it off. You know, it's gonna be many, many years before we'll be paying off Perham, so, yeah. I do really question the $15,000 for snow and grass. I mean, it's great that you think you can do it for that, but
I hope I prove you wrong.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, they're your numbers, but I just.
And I base that on, we can contract it out, or they've contracted it out for $25,000. So if I have the employee there and the machine sitting there,
Right.
we're already doing the sidewalks, we're already doing a portion of it, so I feel very comfortable.
You're making use of.
Correct. Yep, the staff we have on hand that are already, you know, will be there, plus the equipment we already have. And to be honest, there's days where I've gone out and swept the sidewalk for them because I wanted to get the light snow off before it turned to ice. So we've used our sweeper and taken care of that for them now, so.
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. You know, this is a day that I think we were all hoping and have worked really hard to avoid coming to a point where we need to start planning for these pieces. For the public, we're holding out hope that we can find a solution for this. You know, I think there's several pieces, and you've talked about them, where the county has done them and not added it into the budget because it just made sense to do, like you talked about with the moving snow off of sidewalks and around doors and the janitorial pieces. And I think that's a tit for tat piece. I'll say it always costs me more to have things contracted than to do them myself. And so I think there are some cost savings that can be realized. The hard part here is that we have we've really worked towards there not being a major jolt to residents. And I think that's the piece where we're all trying to find what makes the most sense so that residents, in a time when we're hearing from people that it costs more to buy groceries and gas and all of those things, don't see such a large hit here. There's a Henry Ford quote that says, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, and working together is a success." And I think right now there's a partnership that has failed, and that's really disappointing.
I agree.
Yeah, this has been a long process, and you know, I'm speaking as a Moorhead resident and as a county commissioner, and I really believe that when we entered into this agreement back when we did on this transfer station, starting from the lobbying efforts that were done, and nobody lobbied harder than our landfill administrator at the time, Clay County landfill administrator at the time, did for this project. And that being said, I think that the original deal was great for everybody. I mean, the county took over an incredible amount of expenses that we didn't have to do because it wasn't our transfer station. The transfer station was needed by Moorhead. But when you talk about what, the original tipping fee that we've had has been $56, right?
Correct.
And now, if we adjust these expenditures based on just to what is happening within the resource recovery facility, and you put those expenses in their appropriate places, that tipping fee number for the resource recovery facility goes to $81. Am I using the right number, 81?
Yep, correct. And
And
I could argue that it could go even higher if we wanted to be nitpicky, because as you mentioned, I have a list here of things that we added that we're paying for. 9 dumpsters that we wouldn't have needed if we wouldn't have built this facility. A hook truck. 9 dumpsters are $72,000. A hook truck is $80,000. The skid steer is $52,000. The forklift $40,000. 2 semi-trailers, 4 semi-garbage trailers, excuse me. All those things add up, as well as the staff that we've added. We've added a scale operator, a drive-through attendant, 3 part-time drive-through help, an office manager, and a second truck driver. Those are still being spread out amongst everybody, so.
So, when you look at those numbers, you could probably say that the county has been subsidizing that resource recovery facility. But the county has benefited as well by having, I think there's probably I think we talked about 21% of the waste that goes into that facility is from outside city limits. Before, the small transfer station at Moorhead, I don't know that they even allowed.
Did not, no.
They didn't allow anything from outside of the city. So there clearly is, some subsidizing that went on behalf of the county in the operations of that facility. And like you said, there was additional surprises. You didn't talk about the new scale operator that we also, I don't think you listed that one as
Yep,
one.
I did have a scale operator in there.
Okay.
Second truck driver. I didn't include the trucking cost that we've been covering. That's over $200,000 in itself. So, yes, I agree, we have subsidized, or have been subsidizing to benefit the whole county, but Moorhead gets the majority of that benefit.
So and again, I'm still holding out hope that we can still get this figured out but at some point in time, in the near future, Corey's gonna have to let everybody know. We have a lot of rural haulers who are depending on, of course, if they're rural haulers and if they're willing to take it to the landfill, their tipping fee won't change.
Correct.
But if there's some of those rural haulers who are using the resource recovery facility.
Currently, all of them are using at least part-time.
Yeah, and so, they may elect to not bring that material there. Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, just a question, and I was not part of this commission, but I was working for the city of Moorhead when this resource recovery was accepted as a team effort. Does the county, Clay County, with the exclusion of Moorhead, need a resource recovery site?
No, we did not need a transfer station. We could have built additional building at the landfill that could have held our household hazards and our recycling and done it with the staff that we had at that time. By moving it to Moorhead and creating a second location, we had to add all this staff. And we did not need the tipping floor at all. That's purely the city of Moorhead that needed that.
And my understanding is the county carries the bond on this?
Correct.
That the county financed the building of this?
Yep. Yeah, we purchased the land, we paid for the utilities to come out there, we bonded for it.
Okay.
In fairness to that component of it, all of the county is helping pay for that either through the capital thing on the property tax or through the tipping fee. Everybody's helping pay for that bond.
Understood, but the county is carrying the
That's right.
debt. Okay, on a facility that was built to serve our county residents in the city of Moorhead. The county has accepted that debt, and the county has built the facility that the rest of the county did not need, but the county residents within the city of Moorhead do.
Correct.
Okay.
One thing.
Commissioner Bear.
I don't think it would be, it's a want, it's not a need for the city of Moorhead. They can truck to the landfill.
You'd be paying for a lot of maintenance on trucks and a lot of new trucks.
Well, yeah.
It's a want, it's not a need.
Well, I think, in fairness, they did have a transfer station before, right? And part of that transfer station does have benefit for the county in terms of allowing us a better way to supply Prairie Lake solid waste with a sorted, burnable garbage. So that even though that we don't need the transfer station as a county, I mean, that's the city's deal, but we can't be mistaken that there isn't a benefit to the county. I mean, in all fairness, we have to talk about that because, but I guess to me, it just goes back to, when I said early on, I said as a Moorhead resident, as a county commissioner, I really felt that both parties really, we did some give and take in this original deal that really developed a good contract. And yeah, would I like to, as a county commissioner responsible for the county stuff, would I like to be able to go and say, boy, we added an awful lot of stuff that we didn't know about, because we did. And maybe another party doesn't want to do the snow removal in the grass anymore. But the fact of the matter is we all have taken on more than what we probably thought we should have. Hence, I still think the contract that we have is a good contract. And one way we can avoid all these tipping fee increases is to just stay with our contract.
And that was an option that was given.
So. Do we have any other thing? I know, and I do want to point out that our administrator and Assistant County Administrator Darren have been working with the city in the negotiations with the city manager, and I guess I've kind of, from our standpoint, we've just asked Steve to try to work out a deal, and if we can't work out a deal, this is what we have.
Right. So as a follow-up to that, not knowing the dates, we need a preliminary levy in September.
Right.
And so this, for the current time, this is the proposed budget we'll be working with, right? But if it's, here's what I'm getting at. What if there isn't a settlement in one way or another that isn't known until October? Then I'm just saying that, do you have numbers that we would adjust back to if there, with the new agreement before December?
Yes, I have, this is about the fourth budget I've done for this year.
Okay.
I have a budget if they were to sign the original contract
Yeah.
again, or renew the contract.
Yeah.
If there's any renegotiation somewhere in between that, then I would have to adjust, but we could do that rather quickly.
So we're still in that time frame. Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I might also just say, in regards to full transparency for the public, we've had lots of meetings since we received the letter. We've met with city council members, we've met with the administration. We've requested to present this to the city council, the numbers to the city council at meetings and at workshops. So, we stand ready to provide information if needed.
All right. Corey, thank you for your presentation this morning, and we will, going back to Commissioner Kravinoff's question, I think an ultimate decision is going to have to be made in, tying in with our, even though these aren't really levy numbers, but tying into that same time frame that those are the decisions we get. Because if we're taking this over, we have some significant decisions that have to be made on equipment.
Correct.
That's probably the biggest issue that we would face immediately.
Yep.
And we can't be, I mean, we always have an option of temporary leasing equipment, but that isn't in our best interest, so. So I think, Commissioner Krabnoff, to your question, I would think that this should be resolved one or another by the time frame we set for establishing our preliminary levy.
I also need to get letters out to the haulers if things are gonna change. You generally send those out in October.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Corey.
Mr. Chair. Corey, would you like to give a plug for your empty pesticide collection?
I don't have the dates with me, but yes, we'll be doing our annual pesticide collection at the landfill. I believe it's the first,
September 2nd through the 5th.
I believe it's the first week of September, so any empty pesticides can be brought out there and we will store them until they're hauled away.
Shockingly, we were 2 minutes within our time frame on we were taking a 5-minute break. All right, let's see, we got everybody back here. We are back in session. Our next item is a discussion and approval of the 2026 insurance broker partnership.
Yes, good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning,
Chair.
Anna.
Commissioners. So the first item I am here for this morning is to discuss our broker for 2026. Clay County is currently partnered with a company called National Insurance Services, also known as NIS, and that contract and partnership has been in place since approximately 2018 or 2019. NIS has provided support in the transition in 2020 when we moved from or added the grandfathered and non-grandfathered status, and then they also helped us secure a 4-year deal with Blue Cross Blue Shield. However, over the last couple of years, I've experienced increased satisfaction in the service and both the customer service and communication that's been provided by NIS. So with that, this summer, I went out and looked for other broker opportunities and found a local broker named Choice Insurance, located out of Fargo, North Dakota. And Choice has come to the insurance committee to kind of discuss their proposal and also in the RFP process. So we're looking to move to Choice for 2026 due to just stronger communication and transparency and local knowledge on the market. They do have kind of a unique perspective being local to Fargo-Moorhead where we haven't had that before. And then ultimately the decision lies with you all, but the insurance committee did vote unanimously to recommend the carrier change from NIS to Choice for 2026. With that.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Kravinoff?
Yeah, no, that's
You
fine.
looked at me like,
Yeah, I want to make a comment. So, our health committee has had multiple discussions over these last few months. We heard from Anna and others, the changes that were going on, the silence just a lack of response from NIS. And when the other group that Choice Benefits came in, I think we've listened to them 3 times since my memory, and the amount of data they've given us, and the choices and the deep dive into the processes, I think has been a true benefit, a real education for me personally. And I just feel that, yes, they're vying for the business, I understand that, but they're doing their job. And I don't feel that we've gotten that. I think we're going to hear some pretty good rates, very happy rates, in fact, of our possibilities of with the choice of a new health provider. But I think a lot of that came by the work of Choice Benefits, and we may or may not have seen it if they hadn't gotten involved, if we had just been solely talking with NIS alone. So anyway, I appreciate all the work you've done. NIS, they're pleasant people, but again, in my opinion, they just aren't doing the job that they should be. So.
Anna, do you want to, we also talked about how the fee is based, and can we give a comparison between the per member with NIS versus Choice?
Absolutely. So NIS charges $6.26 per member per month for health insurance and $1 per month for dental. Choice would be charging $6 per member per month for health and $1 for dental. So there would be a 26-cent savings per member per month with Choice.
And we have how many members?
As of yesterday, we have 514 contracts.
Okay. All right. So again, the insurance committee met again yesterday. I serve in that as well with Commissioner Krabbenhoft, and that's one of the things when we went through this, Commissioner Krabbenhoft and I did not vote in yesterday's meeting. We wanted to get a true opinion from everybody else, and as Anna mentioned, I think you said it was unanimous recommendation. And so at this point in time, there's a request, and Anna is also up against the clock in terms of getting ready for open enrollment and all the things that would need to be done in that regard. So I think we're definitely looking for a decision on this today, as long as other recommendations that follow this today, right?
Correct.
All right. So any other questions amongst the board, or Commissioner Ebinger?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to fulfill the financial obligation to NIS and buy out the contract for 2026 and switch brokers. Is that in order?
I think what we're looking for today would be a motion to approve the hire of Choice as our broker.
Okay, I'm just reading from the sheet we've got here, but the broker is,
Well, I mean, we're, the recommendation by the insurance committee was to go with Choice as the broker.
Okay.
I think that's kind of,
I'll just amend my motion that we go with Choice as our insurance broker.
so we have a motion to hire Choice, and I would imagine that you'd want that effective now, right?
Correct. So the contract would be in place for 1/1 of 2026. However, we would be
Okay.
working with Choice to, I guess, get through open enrollment and leading up to that. But the contract would be for 1/1
Okay,
of 2026.
starting 1/1/26. Okay, we need a second to that motion if there's,
Yeah, certainly I'll second. That was,
we have a motion and a second to hire Choice as our insurance broker effective 1/1/26.
Okay.
Question.
Question, yes.
Is that a one-year contract?
So because we haven't seen a contract yet, we can negotiate whether that's 1 year, 2 years, so forth. I think that, as it being, I'm gonna get into health in just a second. The health is a 2-year contract, so we'll have to decide if we want it to be a 1 year or 2 year to start. Okay, thank you. The next item. Oh,
We
go ahead,
haven't
Kevin.
voted yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, do we have any further discussion on that motion? Any further discussion?
I'll just, one last comment, if I may. So you may have said it, but yesterday when our committee voted on this is purely unanimous. So I just want you to know there was no reluctance on the group that was there.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries unanimously. All right, Anna, you have the next item is the request approval for 2026 health insurance renewal.
Yes, so this one's kind of exciting. The item I'm here for today is our health insurance renewal, as Commissioner Campbell said. We finished up an RFP process this summer. We are coming off a 4-year contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield that offered rate caps. And in the RFP process, we received multiple proposals from several insurance companies. If you look at the spreadsheet that I provided to you all, you will see that the best offers that we received were from Medica, Health Partners, and United Healthcare. The insurance committee is recommending a change to Medica insurance for 2026 and 2027. Medica came in with a proposal for a negative 12% increase for 2026 with a 15% cap for 2027, so not to exceed 15% that second year. It would be an annual premium difference of $783,000 and some change. However, the way that savings is split between Clay County and the employee is a 50-50%. So with a 12% decrease, the employer takes on or would save 6% and the employee would save 6%. You will see on the spreadsheet that the number 783,000 split in half does not exactly equate to the total decrease that's in the right-hand corner. And the reason for that is Clay County is basing the renewal is based off of all the people that are on the health plan, so all 514 all 500 plus contracts. There is more than 514. However, Clay County pays the county contribution on 514 individuals. So we have individuals that are on COBRA or disability insurance through the state that they are on our health plan but not compensated by Clay County. So the savings to Clay County or to the employer specifically would be $425,000, just shy of $426,000 for 2026. With the proposal for Medica, they are also giving a one-time wellness credit of $50,000. There's some parameters on how that can be used, but essentially we have a wellness committee here in Clay County that meets occasionally. I wouldn't say not super often just because it's no longer funded. And so we would be able to kind of reestablish that committee and find wellness incentives and things for our staff. The Medica proposal also includes EAP. So we do have EAP through MCIT. That would not replace MCIT, would just be an added benefit. And then Medica also is going to provide or pay for a program called Healthy Invest at no additional cost for 2 years. So employees can earn HSA or VIBA dollars by completing specific goals each month. The one change to Medica from Blue Cross, if that's the way that we move, is that it would drop the fourth quarter carryover. So right now our Blue Cross plan has what's called the fourth quarter carryover, and any claims met in the fourth quarter applied to your deductible and automatically roll over to the next calendar year for 3 of our 4 health plans. And so there's some compliance issues with that in terms of it having an HSA, and if your plan next year is considered a high deductible based off deductible you met in a prior year, etc. So the proposal with Medica would be dropping the fourth quarter carryover as well. And with that, I will open it up to any questions. Oh, I should probably add, the insurance committee did vote unanimously to move to Medica as well.
And, you know, I think you're showing on this kind of what it would look like.
Correct. So based off of the county contributions that the county currently pays, that is what the spreadsheet is listing. So we have 227 employees that are grandfathered. We have 80 individuals that carry a family health insurance plan and 207 individuals that are non-grandfathered. So the savings to the county is based off of based off of the county contribution contracts, not the total membership as a whole.
So, if I may,
Crabbe.
just add one thing. You may have already said it, but I just want to reiterate it. So if we would go with Blue Cross Blue Shield, we'd have a 6% increase. We go with the Medica, we're going to be having a 12% decrease. And so that's a huge net change. Now I'm seeing, help me on this, I'm getting caught up maybe at the bottom, but that was somewhere in the $700,000 range, was it not?
Correct. So it's a total of approximately $783,000 savings as a whole, but it's split between the county and the.
Got it, and that's why the 425.
Yeah, so thank you for clarifying. I skipped right to Medica and didn't talk about Blue Cross, but
Okay.
Blue Cross initially came in at a 21.9% increase for 2026, lowered it to 9.9, and then lowered it to 6. So it's a positive 6 for Blue Cross or a negative 12 for Medica. Both policies are the same in terms of coverage and where the individual goes. Open access, they can go to Sanford, Essentia, Mayo, any small clinic, as long as that provider takes the correct insurance. A very small disruption, I think it was less than 0.06, which was mostly chiropractors.
Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, that's okay. Thank you for the reminder.
But the net is, the long and short of it, it's almost $1 million. So,
Yeah, Mr.
Well, it's
Chair.
a little bit over $1 million.
yeah.
Whether, if we would have, between going from a 6% increase to a 12% decrease, it's over $1 million.
And I would also note, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, that when I gave the initial levy projections, we did have a proposed increase within that. So if the board's actions were to move forward with Medica, we would also be able to remove that dollar amount for the upcoming budget. 300,000.
All right. So these would be changes to the cafeteria plan, but also within the cafeteria plan, we have are some of those other, like the dental, isn't that part of the cafeteria plan too?
No, it's not. So we base the county contribution off the increase or the decrease to the health plan only. We do require that individuals also carry at least single dental and basic life, but those premiums are not factored into the county contribution.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Anna is planning to bring the ancillary
Benefits.
the benefit line item next week. Part of that decision was going to be what decision you made on the broker piece, because we have different information for each of those brokers. So.
Thank you.
I have a little bit of questions and clarifications on how this breaks down.
Okay.
But it should not prevent us from making the decision to move from Blue Cross to Medica today. I think that's the request that the insurance committee gave, and I just have a few more questions that I got before the cafeteria plan is finalized on how that works. But I think today it would be appropriate to have a motion to follow the recommendation of the insurance committee and go with Medica Passport Plan
Correct.
in place of Blue Cross for 2026 and 2027.
Correct.
And the 2027 number also had a maximum increase of 15%, I believe it was for this, but that is also very similar to what Blue Cross had offered. So the second year, there's a cap. I guess that's the word they use, is a cap. And that cap is probably very similar between Blue Cross and Medica, so.
So if I can help with that language, I'll make a motion.
And your motion is to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to support the insurance committee's recommendation for the renewal, or to have a renewal to be with a Medica passport plan, cafeteria plan for the years 2026 and 27.
Very good. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Krabanoff, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion?
Just one comment.
Yes.
Since I'm a private employee, I work for myself, and I've had Blue Cross Blue Shield and Medica back and forth for the last 10 years. You do not notice a difference when you're using it at the hospital.
Basically, what we've
let
been
all
told is
employees
you're going to carry a different card.
It's a different card.
Everything else, I think there was a very small, maybe difference that might be more chiropractic related. Anna, do you want to just touch on that real quick?
Absolutely. So there was a 99.4% match between Blue Cross and Medica in terms of the providers. So that 0.06 is going to be mostly chiropractors. I don't have those numbers in front of me today, but there was one or two health providers that were either in the cities. We had one in Florida, so a pretty small disruption for health insurance specifically.
The employees should not see a difference, really, other than the card they get in the mail.
That's correct. All right, anything else? Chris, did you have a comment? Are you just kind of listening in? And I know Chris was part of our insurance. Okay. I know Chris was part of the insurance committee too, so. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Anna, you did a lot of work on this.
Thank you.
You and Darren and everybody else.
We're a little behind schedule, but we will make open enrollment happen.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, we are on to our committee reports. Commissioner Moshe, would you like to start today?
Sure. Last week, I attended the MetroCog TDP virtual open house, which was a recap on all of the work that they've done during that study. Some really great information that you can access on the MetroCog website. I attended the Clay County Planning Commission meeting. There were a number of hearings that were held. There was a CUP for Minn Kota Electric, a substation in Glendon Township that was approved, an IUP for Westland Materials, a mining permit in Keene, approved. There was a request for a CUP from Novel Energy for a 1 megawatt community solar garden in Flowing Township. There were pretty long discussion on the amount of CUPs that have been approved but have not moved towards completion of the project. But nevertheless, this one did receive an approval. A CUP for a cannabis business in Holly Township on the south side of Highway 10 was approved. And there was a text amendment request from a Scott Doms wanting to add cannabis retail to the ag service establishment district. Long discussion on that. Obviously, it's a recommendation to this board. It did not receive favorable recommendation towards this board. Just a lot of comments from the folks on the board stating that a lot of work had gone into where we would allow those businesses, wanting to see what the market does in regards to what is existing and how that moves forward. But this board will have the opportunity to weigh in on that with the final say. I think we all received invitations from the applicant on what they'd like to see in that. That's the Baker elevator. I attended a PRTF planning meeting with Commissioner Krabanoff and Administrator Larson in regards to moving forward with the grant. awarding that we'd received from the state. There's some information that Steve had to provide to them moving forward with that. Had discussions with Representative Keeler about that and the legislative request that we have forward for the non-secure facility, but also the flooding bills, and then discussed with her about the transportation meeting that I believe 2 of our commissioners did attend on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. I was in Hastings for the AMC Board of Directors Strategic Planning. I appreciate the board's willingness to allow me to serve in that capacity. A reminder that my expenses for that were covered by AMC and not for the county. Had the opportunity to take in one of our great festivals in Clay County, the Potato Days Festival in Barnesville. Great work to the planning committees that put that on. Yesterday, I attended the Lakeland Mental Health Center board. There's interesting that we talked about health insurance today at this board. There was a long discussion at that board about that. There's receiving proposals of increases of 40 to 52% on theirs. Reminder, they decided to go self-insurance, and that has been challenging in many different ways. So they are working through that. We did attend at the Alexandria office. That office has had some challenges because of road constructions, folks getting to the office, still providing great services. But I would say in the 10.5 years that I've served on Lakeland's board, this is probably the single worst month that they'd ever had. They were seeing high single-digit margins for the entire year in July. That wiped their margin to 0.1 for the whole year. So couple that with lots of programs in the red and their insurance components. They're doing some things to mitigate losses going forward. The difference is usually July is slow because of the school-based mental health pieces and children's services slows in the summer, so hoping they can rebound in a healthy way. And then after that, I attended a flood mitigation strategic session with Commissioner Campbell, members from the Chamber, the Diversion Authority, and the City of Moorhead on bonding tour items. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear.
Last Wednesday, August 20th, we had a building committee meeting where we had an update on LEC, BCA audit from Sheriff Empting. We passed the audit, but there's a few things, minor changes over the LEC that we have to fix. And then we also had a project updates. The joint highway roof project started August 18th. The FSC light replacement project's about 40% done. And then the fit ups on floor the second and fourth floor on the FSC is complete as well. And the apartments are moving into those 2 floors. And the attorney fit up project is complete. We had all those projects have came through this board with approval, and I'll just give you an update on that. And then we also had Joe has been putting together a capital improvement plan for 2025, a living plan that shows what's been happened and what plans on happening. He'll come and present that eventually to this board. And then we also discussed rental over at the FSC building, where we're gonna get some more information there. And then we also had over at the Joint Highway building, we had an AC condenser go out over there that would cost roughly $18,000. Joe figured Fund 19 can fund our portion of, our portion's about $18,000, and Fund 19 with the savings on that roof project should cover that. That's pretty much what happened at the building committee. Commissioner Campbell was also there, so if he has any comment, he can. And then yesterday, I was up at Halstead for the West Central Regional Water District with Commissioner Campbell as well. And we had updates there. The final survey is wrapping up. We should be done with the final survey in the next 6 weeks. Once we finish that, we should be able to ask for a court hearing to get that done, and we're hoping to have that in late November, early December, to finally put the pin in the West Central Regional Water District to get off the ground. We also had an update with AE2S is gonna be applying for permits this coming week for the Halsted crossing with the city of Halsted. We had an update on our EPA earmark for 2024 that we're waiting for. That's about right around $1 million, $1.1 million. And we've got a new person that's working with us there, so there's been some changing there, and it's dragging out longer than we're hoping for, but hopefully we still get that money this year. And for 2026, Polk County is in there for about $750,000 still for earmarked funds. So we'll hopefully they stay in, but we'll find out. And we have spent about 90% of the $500,000 that's allocated by all three counties. So we're about 10% left there in the fund. And that's about all I have to comment on that. Those were my two committees, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Ebinger.
Thank you. Tuesday, the 19th, I attended the PIC committee meeting, which covered the issues we had today as far as the artificial intelligence policy and the Detox scheduling software. Both those were approved by PIC and went forward. On Thursday, the 21st, I attended the board meeting for the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC. Discussed the goals for I-28. We looked at the budget as well, that they had the projected budget for I-28. They had a board survey that we discussed that's going out this week, and they're planning a board retreat for September, and that was part of the discussion. And on later that day, I attended the Safe Routes to School community conversation that Representative Keeler had gotten together to address the concerns that some of the Moorhead citizens have on the routes to school in general, but specifically it was around the fatality traffic accident that occurred at 40th Avenue and 16th Street South here a couple of weeks ago. Had a really good conversation with people there. The turnout that Representative Keeler got to come was phenomenal. We had Senator Kupek, we had the chair of the Transportation Committee from the House, we had school board members, we had Moorhead City Council members, we had a presentation from on blanking. Dan
Farnsworth from MetroCog.
Yes, Dan Farnsworth from MetroCog, which is part of the study that has been done for Moorhead in applying for these funds. It was a very good turnout and it was a very good meeting. I'm really gratified that we had the elected officials. Commissioner Kravinoff was there too. It was a good evening. And then yesterday I attended the Diversion Authority Financial Plan meeting with the director and some of the staff from the Diversion Authority. Very informative, well thought out. And as a board member, I now feel really empowered with a lot of information that was valuable in where we're going to go in the next 30 years. So it's worth the time, and a lot of effort was put into it by the diversion staff. And that completes my reports.
Thank you, Commissioner Kravinoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the afternoon 19th, I had the Adult Mental Health Monthly Meeting. Very well attended. Our group continues to grow. We had a presentation by Pearl Harbor about the work they do, and not only there were, as a Ernst facility, but also crisis, what's the word I want? Crisis bed place also in their work. Then we had agency reports from everybody and just a lot of cross-talking of sharing information and moving forward. That group continues to grow with providers as well as consumers. As already mentioned by Commissioner Mojo, the next day we had Jenny and I and Steve had to talk about the items she talked about, as well as I mentioned just a couple conversations about potential lobbyists in the future. On Wednesday afternoon, I had the Historical and Cultural Society Finance Committee. We had an in-depth presentation by on our annual audit, and things they have the highest rating they can get for this type of audit, so that will be presented at the end of the board this week, and then get set so that they can do their 990 work later in the year for the nonprofit. On 21st, Thursday, I had a part of the coalition virtual meeting with the Suicide and Substance Abuse Group. About 50 people were online. Lots of good conversation. Should get my note here. Again, new trainers in the area for Sources of Strength were brought up. Very successful program in our school districts. Also, a couple of awarenesses by the Health and Human Side, Health Suicide Prevention Coordinator from the Department of Health. He gave a little bit of awareness of the programs and the toolkits that they provide, and then a reminder about the effectiveness of the 988 call. 988 Day is September 8th coming up, and September is Suicide Prevention Month. People that call in on this number, there's stats for people considering suicide or suicide thoughts, that there's a 85% effective rate of stopping potential damage, and really important. It was noted, sadly, that at that meeting, maybe there were more, but they noted that even in the month of the last month, I should say, we had 4 suicides in Clay County. So it's something we need to continue to be aware of. Later that morning, I had the HRA monthly board meeting, went through the treasurer's report. They're trending in a positive direction, which is good, with some of the challenges that we're facing legislatively. Doing very good work. We will be meeting them obviously this afternoon to get further detail from Dyer and Group as to their projects, what they're doing, and then they'll come forward with a tax levy request for us, which looks at this time to be the same as last year. And she'll tell you more about some grants she's been able to get utilizing the levy dollars that we provide for them. After that, I had the Health Insurance Committee. Obviously, we made our motions and passed them today of those discussions. We're having a health provider, or a broker, as well as the health policy provider. Then I went to the MetroCog meeting. Just real quickly on that, they had their consent agenda with their end-of-month and reports, as well as purchasing some pedestrian counters to be used in their work. They had the main thing, the Heartland Trail study, Their work has been completed. That's online. There certainly is further action, but as far as the alternative routes that the community wanted, they're all identified. And then also, it's not known yet, well, if it will be a state trail or a regional trail. And there's different sources of funding and different regulations for each. So we'll hear about that down the road. And then they were beginning a Kindred Comprehensive and Transportation Plan. Right after that, I caught the first 45 minutes of the conversation that Commissioner Ebinger talked about at the invite of Rep. Keeler regarding the safe routes to school. And after that, I had my CAP-LP board meeting. And again, incredible work being done by this group and number of grants leading forward. And I'm trying to think if there was anything particular to really reach out. But anyway, moving forward in a good way. And I want to thank them too. They put on 2 events for the community, and they were really well attended. They had their 60th anniversary, sorry, of CAP-LP for Lakes and Prairie. As a fact, it was brought into Moorhead 1 year after it was signed into law by President Johnson. So kudos to them. And then yesterday I had the completion of another Health Insurance Committee meeting. Again, we acted on that. So that's my report.
All right, thank you. August 19th, I also attended the Personnel Issues Committee meeting, and Commissioner Ebinger has reported on that. I really don't have anything to ask. We did have a couple of other things on the agenda that were not recommended at the time. Further information was requested on that. The 20th, I attended the Building Committee that Commissioner Bear reported on. I really don't have any thing to follow up on that, other than I think when he talked about the LEC BCA audit, I think there was some door security issues and those type of things, getting into the weeds a little bit, but they were somewhat minor things that they wanted to have done to fulfill the audit. So the sheriff and Mr. Olson are working on getting those resolved. On the 21st, I seemed to attend another insurance committee meeting, one of several that seemed to go on, and ultimately those discussions were part of what we discussed with Anna today and the recommendations that ultimately happened. The 25th, I attended the West Central Regional Water Board meeting that Commissioner Bear reported on. It was actually good to see the regional director of the DNR there. And I think he basically gave us some good advice ahead of time in terms of, as we talk with communities and you get some of your bigger communities and they want to be water suppliers as opposed to recipients of water. And the DNR just wants to be aware of all of those things to make sure that what these local communities think they have for capacity is what they really have for capacity, because almost all of them are taking it from groundwater, and the DNR pretty much governs the aquifers and groundwater capacities. So I think it was information well received by the board to keep them in the loop. Yesterday I did attend the insurance committee meeting, and we acted on the things that need to be acted on today. There were also decisions on carriers for the ancillary insurance plans, which will be coming forward next week. And I wanted to comment a little bit on, I know Commissioner Ebinger and Kravinoff mentioned they were at the Safe Routes to School thing that was put on by Representative Keeler, and I think that's a great conversation that went on, and I know with that tragic accident that happened in the area, that it certainly did invoke some discussion. I think we got to remember that there's, when we talk about the actual safe routes to school programs, this board sees a lot of things that come forward from our highway engineer. And in all smaller communities, I believe it's any community, it's either under 6,000 or 5,000 people or less, any safe routes to school grant applications have to go through the county as part of, basically we have to sign off on it, or be a sponsor, I think is the word that Justin would use. Whereas the city of the size of Moorhead, they don't have to go through the county for their safe routes to school. They go through their own engineering process. So, but I'm glad to see that there was some good dialogue in terms of safe routes to school. We try to act when we can and help in all of our smaller communities. So overall, I think that was a good thing. Steve, would you care to give your report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 19th, I participated in the PIC meeting that's been well covered. Also on the 20th, participated in the PRTF discussion or committee meeting that we've talked about. I think that in addition to things that have been shared, we're going to be looking to restart our internal committee to start planning for anticipating the next legislative session. The 20th also participated in the building committee. That's been covered well. I did have a meeting with probation. It's the second budget update that we've had from Dale. Just to be aware, he's going to be on the board next week. He was made aware recently, since our first presentation that he provided, of some legislative changes in funding that pertained to felony probation that would have a negative impact on our budget. I will leave that. I'll leave that for further explanation next week from Dale, because I want to make sure that it's said correctly. But just an awareness that could certainly have a significant impact on what it costs us for probation services. As was mentioned, we had multiple insurance committee meetings last week that were covered. Also participated in the West Central Water District meeting virtually. Just a couple different things that we do have on our website. We have a citizen opportunity for Clay County Extension Committee. We're looking for a member to be one of our 6 appointed county residents. And so if you're interested in that, there's more information on the webpage. On Thursday, I'm going to be meeting with Christensen, who is the new regional outreach director for Senator Klobuchar. So if there's anything this board would like to make sure that we discuss as part of the importance of Clay County, please let me know. And just lastly, based on the discussions that we had today with the insurance, we are looking to set by our schedule our preliminary levy a little bit earlier this year, September 16th. So I plan to bring Lori and I forward next week for some budget and looking for some further insight from this board, particularly on potentially the use of fund balance, the dollars that we pay or have been providing non-county entities, so we can look at finalizing that budget for the preliminary. And that concludes our report.
Thank you. Brian? Darren?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Tuesday, I also attended the PIC meeting. I won't cover that. It's always been covered well. Also, I attended the Board of Adjustments remotely. The only 3 things we had there was 3 companies, gravel and excavating, were asking for right-of-way setbacks and to move a scale house. Those were all approved. Commissioner Mojo already covered the Planning Commission meeting, so I'll skip over that. Wednesday morning, we had a meeting with some of the government center employees on the operations. I also attended the building committee, which has also been covered. On Thursday, I drove down to St. Paul to attend the in-person MCCC meeting. Friday, had a meeting with Steve and Anna on some personnel issues. And then yesterday, reviewed some of the responses to the corrections proposals that Josh Hagem has sent me, so I reviewed those. I also attended the insurance committee and then had a meeting with Anna and Steve Monday afternoon on a personnel issue. That's my report.
Sarah? Nothing? Okay. Anything else? We are adjourned.